Hi Facebook, Joe Dugan here with the Maryland Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. A couple weeks ago, I made a post on Facebook asking users if they had any questions that they needed answered, would like to have had answers. So this entire uh, video is going to be answering those questions. First of all, let me tell you what the ICAC Task Force is. The ICAC Task Force was developed by the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Program. We're going to just say OJJDP because it's just easier to say. They created it in 1998 with the Justice Appropriations Act. What it did, it just gave funding to local and federal law enforcement agencies um, to be able to create a task force of those agencies. There are 61 coordinated task forces across the country, including federal, state, and local law enforcement. So there's no real, there's no office that the ICAC meets at. There's no organization known as the ICAC. It is just an affiliation of law enforcement. Again, before I retired, I was a member of the Harford County Sheriff's Office, and the Harford County Sheriff's Office is a member of the ICAC Task Force. So, a lot of people are under the assumption that there is a group of police officers somewhere known as the ICAC Task Force, and that's just not it. It's just an affiliation of law enforcement. The Maryland State Police sort of pull the purse strings for it. They organize the funding and sort of the administrative leader of the task force. A lot of people were curious about what I did. My whole job with the ICAC Task Force and the Maryland State Police now is just going into the community, teaching internet safety to children and parents. Pretty much any place somebody will let me talk, I'm there to give the message. With the COVID, as it's come along, it has put a dampener on that a little bit. And a lot of my presentations have been just through Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, or Twitter. I have done a few virtual presentations. Looking forward to, as the school year comes on, doing a few more virtual presentations. Right. One of the questions I'm asked, and I'm asked this question quite a bit, is do you have or can you recommend resources such as videos or website links for parents, adults to use? And are there educational safety internet video resources for children to watch? Actually, there's a lot of them. Some of my favorites are NetSmarts, which is presented by the National Center for Missing Exploited Children, or NCMEC. The NetSmarts videos, they range in age from adults, teens, tweens, all the way down to elementary school kids. Just a great program, just an invaluable resource. Protect Young Eyes, another great resource. It's a faith-based organization out of Michigan. They do a lot of very good research into apps and parental controls. Enough is Enough is an organization based out of, I believe, Reston, Virginia. Again, just a great resource, a lot of videos, a lot of resources. And the Beau Biden Foundation, which is out of Delaware. Just great resources. I repost a lot of these resources onto our Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, and so on. Another question. Who should a parent contact if they need to report an inappropriate internet situation that occurred online? Simple, really. If there is imminent danger, if your child is in danger, there's a predator on the way to the house right now, or your child has left the house to go meet a predator, call 911 absolutely right away. Get the police working on it quickly. If this is a situation where you've seen, maybe an inappropriate website online, or your child is talking with a predator but hasn't given any information, this predator is asking them for whether it be images or just asking them for private information, you can report that through the cyber tip line, which is also run by the National Center for Missing Exploited Children. That's just the simplest way to get it done. They will have a group of analysts there that will research the tip, um, get the appropriate information, and send it to the appropriate law enforcement agency. Again, if your child's in imminent danger, 911 always. And the question, should a parent engage or respond to an individual who has contacted their child inappropriately through a game or a website? I don't recommend, uh, having an exchange with, somebody like that. Again, report it to the cyber tip line. When the police come out, um, they may want to take over that account. They may want to pretend to be your child to talk to this predator. Um, it's just really not worth it. You're not going to solve the problem. Um, the predator may leave your child alone, but they will move on to the next child. If the police can have a chance of, catching this predator, that's the ultimate goal. So I don't recommend, uh, engaging this person. Report it to the cyber tip line. What action should a parent or guardian take to handle an incident? Again, talk with your children. I mean, you should be doing this before the incident happens so the child knows how to react to the incident. Give them the tools they need to, you know, react to the situation. If your child is approached by a predator online and they haven't been told, hey, be careful of somebody who praises you too much or flatters you too much, this could be a dangerous person, they won't know how to react to it. And again, if your child does come to you with a problem, remember they are the victim. I mean, they've done exactly what you wanted them to do. There was a problem online, they've come to you for, help. Another question I get a lot is, what are signs parents should watch for related to the risk of trafficking? And what can we discuss with our young teens to help them be aware of risky behaviors that are insidious and not obvious? Um, Traffickers are pretty much the same as a predator online. They approach your child the same way, they groom your child the same way. We need to make our children aware also that, these dangers, predators and traffickers, are not just online. They actually happen in the real world also. Whether your child was at the mall or at the playground, they can still be approached by predators. And predators and traffickers just very good at what they do. They use a process we call grooming, and one of the biggest tools they have is flattery. Your child posts a picture online, um, and they post the picture because they want to get a response. Well, the predators and traffickers, they know this. They're going to tell your child, you look like a model. You're the most beautiful person I've ever seen. And your child is going to eat this up because 13, 14-year-old child wants approval. They will also, as part of the grooming, they will repeat what your child says to them. Your child tells them they like country music. Well, that predator is obviously going to be a country music connoisseur. Your child tells them, their favorite food is, Hawaiian pizza. Well, just so happens, surprise, surprise, that, this predator or trafficker, their favorite food is going to be Hawaiian pizza. Your child might tell them, hey, their favorite pastime is, I love to go horseback riding. Without a doubt, that predator is going to have access to horses and horseback riding. So again, these are the things we need to tell our children. When you start talking to a stranger online, or just somebody they don't know, and this person turns out to be their soulmate. They just, everything they like, they like mutually. Most of the time, I would venture to say 100% of the time, this person is a predator. Whether they're looking to actually meet your child in person or just ask your child for images. This is what your child needs to be aware of when they run across these people that are just too good to be true. They're probably not. Another question we get, what are the best parental settings on devices? And how can you explain this whole issue to your children so they understand it's serious? First of all, I am just not the expert on parental controls, but I do know where to look for them. The best resource I've found so far for parental controls is Protect Young Eyes that I mentioned earlier. They have just done so much research on, the devices, on the apps, um, even on providers as to what parental uh, protections are out there. Also, let your child know that these parental settings are you're active on the devices. You know don't ruin that trust you have with your child by your child finding out that you've been spying on them. If your child knows there's parental software on their devices, they might be more cautious about what they do. They may not go to that site because they know, hey, mom's going to be alerted that I went to this site or I searched this term. Um, how do you speak to your kids about these issues? That's a difficult question. Lots of times your child sees these news stories, of what happened to a child that, ran afoul of someone on the internet. Well, to your child, that's just a story. That's something that happened far and distant off. Again, this is the pitch for, my presentations. When I give the presentations, I will give the children actual anecdotes from investigations I've done. This is what has happened to a child that I know. So again, this is now is no longer a story that happened distant off. This is something real that happened to a child, and this man up here helped that child. So again, it helps bring it, to the forefront, makes it real as opposed to a story that they just heard on the news. All right, the last question we have today is the person says, I would like to know what policies are currently in place or being lobbied or in development to enforce companies to address or scan for this type of material in their own platforms. What can we do to help push that legislation forward? There is legislation in place right now. It's uh, 18 U.S. Code 2258A, which is reporting requirements for providers. All U.S. based service providers, Google, Yahoo, Instagram, Facebook, are required by law to report any instance of child sexual abuse material that they see over their uh, service. So, I mean, they have a lot of tools they use um, that they have available to them, that help them identify the images or even just the conversation sometimes when they see it. And again, you have to imagine, the millions and billions of transactions that go on daily. You know, some of this stuff is going to be missed. Some of the providers are better at reporting it than other providers. Uh, the best way to find out, what's going on, as far as protecting our children is get in touch with your representative. If you see something that's wrong, is hey, this, something that needs to be addressed. I had a lady call me a few weeks ago, was concerned that someone was taking pictures of her children at the beach. And when she called law enforcement, there was nothing law enforcement could do about it. Which, okay, there is, you know, something there that maybe your representative can bring before the legislature and say, hey, we need some sort of protection for our children. A stranger should not be allowed to just take pictures of her children on the beach. So, that's something you need to get together, get involved in your local politics. Yeah, if you see something that needs to be done, be the person that does it. Again, there are laws in effect that, require that providers report these instances. Um, I hope that answers your questions. I know there was a lot of other questions that were posted to Facebook that I answered them right there because I thought they needed to be answered right away. Um, Again, if you have a question that you want answered, post it to me on Facebook, send it to me on Instagram. Um, I will do my best to get that question answered. Again, I'm Joe Dugan with the Maryland Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Have a good day.